Las Vegas, Nevada, August 15th, 1977. Ann-Margret is opening at the Las Vegas Hilton. She is 36 years old, a two-time Academy Award nominee, one of the most accomplished performers of her generation. And tonight, she is about to walk out onto a stage she has stood on before. But before the show, she looks for something that has been there every time before this. Every single time for 10 years without fail. A guitar-shaped bouquet of flowers, sent from Elvis Presley. It is not there. No arrangement, no telegram, no message of any kind. She performs that night, 2 shows, the way Las Vegas demands. But the thought runs underneath everything. Something is wrong. She knows it the way you know certain things without being told, in the body, before the mind is caught up. She has been receiving those flowers since her first Las Vegas engagement in July of 1967. For every opening night in the years that followed, the guitar-shaped arrangement arrived. It was his way of saying, "I am watching. I am still here." On the morning of August 16th, a phone call comes from Graceland. Elvis Presley has died. He was 42 years old. Ann-Margret had known before they told her. The flowers had always been his voice when he could not be in the room. When they did not arrive, she had heard the silence. This is the story of what those flowers meant, and what the two of them were to each other, beginning 14 years earlier on a soundstage in Hollywood, when they opened their mouths to sing and discovered something neither of them had been prepared for. To understand what those flowers meant, you have to go back to the summer of 1963, to a recording studio in Hollywood, and 2 people who had no particular reason to be extraordinary together and were, immediately, from the first note. Ann-Margret was 22 years old, and her career was just beginning to catch fire. She was Swedish-born, raised in a small town in Illinois, and she had the specific quality that the entertainment industry occasionally produces in young people. She was not performing. She was simply being in front of cameras in a way that made the cameras irrelevant. Elvis was 28. He had been famous for 7 years. He had made 14 films. He had charted hit after hit. And he was, in ways that the people closest to him understood without always finding the right words for, lonely inside the machinery of all of it. MGM put them together for Viva Las Vegas. It was, by the studio's calculation, a straightforward decision. 2 charismatic young performers, a Las Vegas backdrop, 10 musical numbers. What the studio did not calculate, and could not have, was what was going to happen when Elvis Presley and Ann-Margret stood in front of a microphone together for the first time. If this is the kind of story you come to this channel for, the private truth underneath the public record, the connections that the history books barely mention, please subscribe. There are more of these. We are committed to telling them properly. The formal introduction happened first, the way these things always happen in the studio system. The director, a photographer, 2 performers shaking hands for the publicity department. George Sidney made the introduction. They said the polite phrases, a photographer took the pictures. Then it was over. They met again 2 days later to record their duets. The room was different then, just a piano, a microphone, a handful of crew members. 2 performers in a working studio, and the work to be done. Ann-Margret wrote in her memoir, "From day one, when we gathered around the piano to run through the songs, Elvis and I knew it was going to be serious." What she meant was this: when they sang together, something happened that neither of them had expected. What happened was closer to what Ann-Margret described as a mirror. She wrote, "We felt music the same way. We would listen to music, look at each other, and feel it move through us in the same direction at the same moment. We were moving the same way." Lamar Fike, who had known Elvis since the mid-1950s, said later, Elvis's affair with Ann-Margret was not just an affair. He was really in love with her. It got hot and heavy. The production moved to Las Vegas in July of 1963. Elvis and his entourage took the 28th floor of the Sahara Hotel. Ann-Margret stayed a few floors below. Elvis's cousin Billy Smith recalled, "She made his life a little easier because she understood him and didn't make any demands on him. She even understood his need for us, the guys around him." What Elvis and Ann-Margret had in common went beyond the music. They both came from small towns. They both rode motorcycles. They both had a deep, private faith. They both had what Ann-Margret described as a need for privacy inside their public lives. Elvis's inner circle had never seen him behave this way with a woman. He went out with her alone, without the buffer of the Memphis boys between him and the world. But there was a complication. Priscilla Beaulieu was at Graceland. She had been there for 2 years, living quietly in the house while Elvis made his movies in Hollywood. When the gossip columns began reporting that Elvis and Ann-Margret were engaged, a misreading of something Ann-Margret had said in England, the pressure built from every direction at once. The official romance ended in 1967. Elvis married Priscilla in Las Vegas on May 1st. Ann-Margret married actor Roger Smith 1 week later in the same city. She had written, "There were other factors in Elvis's life that forced him apart from me, and I understood them. Elvis had always been honest with me, but still it was a confusing situation." What did not end in 1967 was the friendship. Elvis attended Ann-Margret's first Las Vegas stage engagement that same July, weeks after they had both married other people. It was the first time the guitar-shaped flower arrangements began, his particular gesture, repeated for every opening night in the decade that followed. His way of being in the room when he could not be in the room. Lamar Fike was asked years later whether Elvis would have married Ann-Margret if things had been different. He said, "I think Elvis would have married her in a New York second. But he made it clear he'd do it only if Ann quit the business. And Ann was very career-oriented. She'd worked all her life to get where she was and wasn't going to let anybody stand in her way."
I love you, Ann.
In July of 1967, 2 months after their respective weddings, Elvis attended Ann-Margret's show at the Riviera in Las Vegas. They met alone backstage afterward. Ann-Margret wrote, "Elvis stepped forward and dropped to one knee. He took my hands in his and, in a soft, gentle voice weighted by seriousness, told me exactly how he still felt about me, which I intuitively knew, but was very touched to hear." For 10 years after that, the flowers came. Every Las Vegas opening night. The guitar-shaped arrangement, unmistakable, from Elvis Presley. The shape of the guitar said everything he could not say in words. It said, "I know what you do. I know who you are. I have not forgotten." In early 1977, Ann-Margret began hearing rumors about Elvis's health. When Joe Esposito came to her show at the Tropicana in Las Vegas, she asked him directly. "Don't worry," he told her. "Everything's fine. There are a few problems, but we're taking care of them." On August 15th, 1977, she opened at the Hilton. The flowers did not come. No arrangement, no telegram, no message. It was the first time in 10 years. She performed both shows that night, but the absence was there underneath everything. The silence where the guitar-shaped arrangement had always been, the space where his presence had always declared itself. She made calls the next morning. The call from Graceland confirmed what she already knew. Elvis Presley had been found unresponsive at Graceland. He was gone. Ann-Margret and Roger Smith drove to Memphis for the funeral. When she arrived at Graceland, Vernon Presley embraced her. "There was so much to say," she wrote later. "Instead, we cried. Vernon said softly, 'He was so proud of you.'" In her memoir, published in 1994, Ann-Margret called Elvis her soulmate. She did not use the word casually. She wrote, "We experienced music in the same visceral way. Music ignited a fiery, pent-up passion inside Elvis and inside me. We looked at each other move and saw virtual mirror images." That is one kind of soulmate, the person who hears the music the same way you hear it. But there is another kind, and Ann-Margret knew Elvis was that, too. The person whose presence makes you more completely yourself. Billy Smith described what Ann-Margret gave him in a sentence. She made his life a little easier because she understood him. The guitar-shaped flower arrangements stopped on August 16, 1977. They had been coming for 10 years. They had come through the end of the romance, through both their marriages, through all the years and everything that life had required of both of them. They had come without fail because Elvis Presley understood that some things do not end when the formal chapter closes. Some things simply become something else, quieter, less visible, but present. When the flowers stopped coming, Ann-Margret performed 2 shows and then went back to a room and made the calls that confirmed what she already knew. The flowers had always been his voice, and when they stopped, she had heard the silence before she had heard the words. If this is the kind of Elvis history you want to keep watching, subscribe to the channel. There are more moments, more people, and more untold stories still to document. And if you have a memory of Ann-Margret or of Elvis, or of the particular kind of connection that this story is about, something in your own life that rhymes with it, leave it in the comments. This community was built for exactly that kind of conversation.